Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Kirschner. I'm a solution consultant here at ServiceNow, specializing in IT asset management. And welcome to the How To Clinic for Hardware Asset Management. So, first, we're going to go over what this workshop is for and just an overview of what we're going to be discussing today. And just as a heads up, this content that you are seeing is privileged and confidential information. And also, please note this safe harbor notice for forward-looking statements. So what are we going to cover in today's call? So first, we're going to go over how to get started with your HAM Pro implementation and a reminder of how it brings value to your organization. We're also going to go over some of those key concepts and skills for using HAM Professional. And lastly, we're going to go over some of those best practices and additional resources. So on the agenda for today, like I said, we're going to go over some of those HAM goals, talk about activating plugins, how HAM Pro works, both through these slides and through a demo instance. And also we're going to close out with some of those next steps. So let's get started with some HAM goals. So just as a reminder, why is manual hardware asset management a struggle? Well, we see those disconnected tools and the siloed data. And because the process is highly manual, there's going to be more chance for that human error, which is going to lead to an increased cost and risk due to that inaccurate received and installed inventory, which then can cause unproven compliance with privacy and regulations. And that really brings me to my next point here, which is why ServiceNow for hardware asset management? Well, one, we connect the enterprise with a single platform. So we have that normalized hardware that's being discovered to maintain that clean CMDB. We have that centralized asset data for accurate inventory and insights. We also automate the IT lifecycle with workflow. So we have those automated workflows to simplify that request, receive, deploy, swap, dispose. And we can speed up that service delivery from asset receiving to request fulfillment, all the way to equipment removal. And all of this is going to help reduce those asset costs and risks. So we're going to have that clean and reliable data, which is going to make it possible to strategically plan for future purchases and tech refreshes. You're going to get that actionable insight and minimize those wasted resources. So this is going to all help you comply with those established security policies and regulatory requirements, while also uncovering and securing that unknown portion of your IT estate so that you can go ahead and secure it. So like I mentioned before, ServiceNow Hardware Asset Management Pro also powers the end-to-end lifecycle of all your assets from request to retire. So going from manually managing active configuration items to proactively governing devices on and off the network. So you're going to be driving that full IT lifecycle with visibility from a native CMDB that's going to show you when you need to buy hardware if it's not in stock, or being able to see aging equipment that is subject to vulnerability exposure. You're going to get those value outcomes faster using the Now Platform capabilities that are already in place to help you drive those business decisions. So how does a company measure ServiceNow's hardware asset management tool success? Well, one KPI is going to be those cost savings. Hardware asset management is going to allow for that accurate quantity for better vendor pricing and also flags any of those unused hardware purchased. HAM also provides that inventory accuracy for stockroom audits and external compliance, and also provides accuracy for any lost or missing hardware. So customers who use ServiceNow HAM also have seen an increased productivity due to just the number of automated hardware deployments and software disposals. So HAM Pro is going to build on that existing asset management capability, which you can see at the bottom of this pyramid, which basically just shows that baseline functionality provided by ITSM Asset Management and also what's included in some other ServiceNow products. But the top of the pyramid is really just showing you those key expanded features that are provided with HAM Pro. So HAM is going to automate each stage of the asset lifecycle by tracking that financial, contractual, and inventory details of your hardware and devices. You're going to see asset requests are handled using workflows to obtain approvals and provision these services. And once an asset is deployed, HAM is going to record that maintenance activities and enable that IT to really perform those regular assessments. So HAM Pro is really just going to allow you to control the entire life cycle from procurement to disposal and also maximize the value of the asset. So you're going to need those full life cycle insights from pre-production planning to post-production retirement. I also specifically want to point out a couple of these features, such as that mobile capability. So using your mobile phone's camera to scan assets in a stockroom or conduct asset audits. The normalization of your assets is another feature that's really going to allow you to have that cleaner and more durable data. And again, we have that lifecycle automation workflow, and again, the ham workspace. And I'm going to be showing you all of this shortly on the platform as well. So next, I'm going to go ahead and discuss how to activate those ham plugins. So here are some of those core ham plugins that you're going to be working with and should activate at the beginning of your implementation. So when you activate one of them, such as the ServiceNow Ham Pro plugin, it should come with most, if not all of these other plugins that are just child plugins of the original one. I've also included in my presentation just some quick steps on how to do it if you have not yet done it. Now let's go ahead and walk through the process of activating and reviewing the ham plugins from the ServiceNow store. All right, so I'm currently in the ServiceNow store, typed in hardware asset management into the search, and here are all the apps and solutions that come up. We're going to click into this specific tile. Here's all that information into hardware asset management. You're going to see those product details. You're going to be able to see those key features, what requirements you need, and any of those release notes. And then you're just going to come right here and click Get. And this is how we're going to be able to install this on your instance. Another way to do this is you're going to go into your instance and you're going to go into your applications and plugins. What we're going to do is we're going to type in hardware asset management. And here you are. You can see if it's installed. You can also install it from here, and you can also see the release notes again from the store. So there's just a couple of different ways that you can go ahead and install hardware asset management into your environment. So now we're going to go over how hardware asset management works on the Now platform. So ham on the platform is going to use normalization to help reduce asset spend and risk. So inventory data is going to be brought in from multiple different sources, but it isn't always consistent across department or even hardware models themselves, right? So this information is going to be ingested using a discovery tool, answering that all-important question of what do we have in our estate? So our normalization process for ham is going to take in that data from the discovery tools, as well as the important information, and then take that unique model number and compare that to our content library, which is just a giant data repository. And then it's going to align these models under that one common display name. So again, they're going to do that through combining the manufacturer and the product name. And then we're also going to bring in those life cycle dates of the specific hardware model. So for example, right here we have an Apple MacBook Pro, and as you can see, different sources are showing the same MacBook hardware asset in 3 different ways. So normalization is going to allow for that standardization of this asset to that one product name. And again, we're going to provide those end of sale and end of life data, so there's not going to be any more duplicate data. One other thing I did want to address is that if there is a model that doesn't have a corresponding standardization in the content library, we have a ServiceNow research team that can go out, get that information into that content library to get that standardization for that model. And any information from that content library is also going to be pushed on a weekly basis with that up-to-date information from our publishers and our manufacturers. So overall, this process is just looking to clean up your inventory data and models to provide that more effective management solution of your hardware assets. So we're really looking to get your teams to the point of having all the information they need to automate these asset life cycles from acquiring to disposing with our out-of-the-box workflows, as well as all the information they need when something does come up and how to best make an informed decision. So the overall goal with hardware normalization is really just to ensure your asset data is going to be trustworthy. So knowing what assets you have and just being able to prove it. So automatic and continuous normalization standardizes models by category to maintain that clean and durable CMDB, while also removing those manual updates to help improve time and eliminate any errors. So I'm going to be jumping into the instance. And for this lab, we're going to be going in and creating a new hardware model and publishing it to the service catalog for end users to be able to go ahead and request. All right, so first and foremost, right now, we're in that hardware asset workspace. This is going to be that unified medium with those multiple views that really are going to help you manage your assets efficiently. So these views are going to provide you with that visibility into all of the important aspects of your assets. So we have dashboards on normalizations and stock rooms. We can see that asset count by model, life cycle state, model category, and also that overall performance of these assets. So the hardware asset workspace is going to contain the following views. So we have that hardware asset overview, which we're showing right now. We have our inventory view, asset estate, model management, content lookup portal, contracts management, and asset operation. All right, so for this first lab, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new hardware model. So we're going to go into the hardware models table. So what we're doing is we're bringing a new laptop model into our IT environment. To support this, we must first create that new hardware model and then review how that normalization process works. And finally, we're going to add this new model to the service catalog so our employees can go ahead and order it through their service portal. What we're going to do is we're going to click New. For manufacturer, we're going to put Lenovo. Under name, we're going to put ThinkPad P52. For model category, we're going to put computer, and we're going to lock that in. For useful life, we're going to put 36. So useful life is what you determine is the recommended time for that particular asset model to remain in service. So once an asset has reached the end of its useful life, a flag on the asset record will be set for eligible for refresh. And then down here for cost, we're going to put 1,500. We are going to save this. And as you can see, we have the display name that's locked in just based off our manufacturer and our name. So coming down to this normalization piece, we can see right here that this is going to be partially normalized because we don't have that model number information. So what we're going to do is we're going to include the model number back up here in the general view. And we are going to save it. And if we scroll down, we're going to be able to see how that normalization piece changes from partially normalized to normalized. And now down here, this is where we're going to be able to go ahead and publish this new hardware model to the product catalog. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, add this short description. We're going to click Save. So now that we have the description, what we're going to do is come down to these related links and click Publish to Hardware Catalog. Under Category, we're going to put Hardware. Click OK. So for this, brings us to our hardware catalog record for the specific ThinkPad P52. We can come down here, add any more product information, so any specifications or features, and we can also actually add images of what this hardware model looks like. So I'm going to go in, choose that image file for this Lenovo ThinkPad. Going to click OK. And right here, here is the picture. What we're going to do is we're going to save. And last thing we're going to do for this specific lab is we're going to click Try It. And right here, we're in the service catalog for this ThinkPad P52. We can see the image, we can see that total price, and we can go ahead and order it. So next, we're going to be looking at bulk stock orders. So it's going to be a prescriptive flow for stock orders to accurately source assets from your entire asset inventory, no matter where it lives. So we can also import advanced shipment notifications and leverage any mobile app to receive assets. And we do support iOS as well as Android. I'm going to hop into the instance again, go over bulk stock orders. We're going to start by configuring the service catalog, ordering the new assets, and performing that mobile asset receiving. All right, so going into lab 3, we're going to go ahead and do that inventory stock order. So in this section, we're going to perform that bulk stock order to replenish that inventory in our stockroom. So first, we're going to customize that service catalog to include the asset lifecycle operations, which I have already done, but I'll show you guys how you can do that. Next, you're going to initiate that bulk stock order request to purchase that several new laptops, and then we're going to walk through procuring and receiving the new assets, including, like I mentioned, importing advanced shipment notifications and performing that mobile asset receiving. So at the end, we should be able to see how ServiceNow can assist you with managing your hardware stock order process. Right now in the service catalog, right here, I've already added the asset lifecycle view. But if you do not have this view, what you're going to do is you're going to hit this plus button right here, add that content, and you're going to just add it right there. Close out of this. So right now I'm in the asset lifecycle view. We're going to go ahead and click hardware inventory stock order. We're going to put in that Lenovo pad, this specific model. We're going to do quantity 4. We're going to do the Southern California warehouse, add that destination stockroom. We're going to click order now. So from here, we can see our request number, and also we can see what stage we're in that fulfillment process, and this will get updated in real time as we go through that workflow. You can also see that total price from here as well. I'm going to go ahead, click into this request number. We can see this record, we can see who it's requested for, that due date, that price again, and down here we can see that requested item number. Right here, as I am Casey Kuhn, I'm going to go ahead and approve this request. And once I approve it, that's going to generate that catalog task for us to go ahead and source request these items. So I'm going to jump down here. I'm going to click source request. So since we have none in other stock rooms to transfer over, I'm going to go ahead and purchase 4 of these from the vendor. We're going to hit submit. So one shelf purchase order line has been created successfully. I'm going to click OK. We're going to scroll down, click into this PO. It's going to be shipped to that Southern California warehouse. Preview this record. And I'm going to hit order. So now that we've gone ahead and ordered it, we do want to complete that advanced shipment notification form. I'm going to go into here. I downloaded that template file and I completed already, but this is where you'll come to do that. I'm going to go ahead and click Browse Files. And I'm going to upload this. We're going to click here to view our import progress. And right here, we can see that import set that's been run. We can see that total of 4 assets, 4 inserts. There's no errors here. And we can see that import set rows right here. We can see that asset tag record as well. All right, so the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to receive these new assets via the mobile asset receiving. So we're going to assume we received your assets from the vendor, and now we can leverage the Now Agent mobile app to receive our order using our mobile device. So we're going to easily scan those asset tags and serial numbers of our new laptops in order to receive them. And if we're not using the mobile application, then we can actually receive the assets via the desktop UI by just using the History tab to navigate back to that purchase order you created and clicking that Receive UI action button. So right now I'm in the Now Agent app. I'm going to go over to Procurement, click POs for the next 30 days. I'm going to go down here and find that PO number that we just generated. Looks like it's right here. All right, so next what we're going to do is we're going to actually receive these by scanning the barcodes. All right, so now that I've finished scanning those asset tags and the serial numbers, we just need to make sure that everything lines up properly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit submit. So now that we've gone ahead, received these assets using our mobile agent app, we can go back onto the platform, see that the status has been changed to receive. And if we scroll down here, we're going to be able to see those 4 receiving slips as well. So organizational business goals are really built on that business and technical services they provide to their customers. So the performance of those services is really critical to any organization. So these services are going to be driven by applications hosted on hardware and delivered by networking devices. So by knowing which hardware assets support a service, an organization can dramatically reduce that downtime. And most important, if an organization knows in advance when a hardware asset will go through end of support or end of life, proactive planning is going to help reduce replacement costs through eliminating needs for extended support, improving negotiation for replacement hardware, and overall reducing that risk of hardware vulnerabilities. So this is going to minimize that downtime of critical services, eliminate unnecessary extended support, and reduce the risk of the aging hardware. So this is going to enable that strategic and proactive planning with visibility into manufacturer lifecycle details, costs, and tech refresh cycles. So in the next lab, we're going to go over in the instance how to perform a hardware asset refresh and then leveraging that bulk transfer function as well. All right, so again, in this section, I'm going to perform a hardware asset refresh. We're going to use that baseline hardware refresh workflow. We're going to first initiate that refresh request for several older laptops, and then we're going to walk through that refresh process. And at the end of the section, you should be able to articulate how ServiceNow can assist you with managing your hardware refresh process. So first and foremost, I just want to navigate you all to this asset estate view where we're able to see what assets are actually eligible for refresh. So right here, we can see there are 12 assets and 2 of those being computers. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back over to that service catalog, go over to asset lifecycle and click hardware asset refresh order. We're going to do a single model refresh and we're going to have the replacement model be that Lenovo ThinkPad P52. And we're going to have a filter be run for eligible for refresh is true. We're going to run that filter. Right here, here are those 2 computers that we saw that are eligible for refresh on that asset estate view. So we're going to move both of these over. And we're going to click order now. So right here, we're in that order status. We have that request number. Over here, we can also see what stage we're in the fulfillment process. And of course, we can see our total price. So I'm going to click on this request number to open up that record. So right here, we're in that request record. I can see who the request is for, the price, the due date. We can see what status it's in. So right here, we can also see that requested item number. And of course, down here, we have our approvers list. So as Casey Kuhn, I'm going to go in, click approved. We're going to click save, and that's going to generate that catalog task for us. I'm going to open up this catalog task, and we're going to click source request. There are 4 from transferable stock that we can use. There's none in the local stock, but we can also purchase 2 if we would like. But what we're going to do is we're going to hit the transfer button. We're going to transfer from the Southern California warehouse. It's a very intuitive platform. It shows that there's 4 in stock already. And we're going to transfer over 2 to the San Diego South warehouse. And we're going to hit submit. Now our 2 transfer order lines have been created successfully. So now that we're back on the request form, we can scroll down here to see those transfer order lines. We can see what stage it's in. We can see what stockroom it's coming from and what stockroom it's going to. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up this transfer order number. And right here, we're able to see those transfer order lines for these 2 assets. So now that we place the transfer order, we're going to leverage the bulk update to move the transfer order through the different stages of the transfer process. So we're going to click bulk update. For select stage, we're going to choose requested. And we're going to move these 2 over here and click update. Next, we're going to click bulk update again, and we're going to select the next stage in the process, which is shipment preparation. And again, we're going to move these 2 assets over here and click update. Now, as you can see, each time I'm doing this, the stages are also being updated. I'm going to click bulk update one more time. We're going to click in transit. We can add a tracking number, a ship date, the vendor. And we can also move these over here to the selected view. And we're going to click update. We're going to click bulk update one more time. We're going to move it over to that and receive stage. And lastly, we're going to click bulk update again, click delivered. So now we can see that we received the assets in the stockroom needed for the refresh. And next we're going to process those next steps in the hardware refresh process. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to requests. So now we can see all of the different requests that Casey has, and we're going to jump into this one, which is that transfer order request. So we're currently in that request record. And what we're going to do, we're going to come into this requested item. We're going to open this up, scroll down here, and here are our hardware asset refresh lines. Here are the different stages that we need to go through in order for this task to be completed. So I'm going to jump into this hardware asset refresh line. And as you can see, we have one refresh task to complete, and that is to prepare and stage the asset for deployment. So I'm going to jump into the specific refresh line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for the asset. This is the one that we want. I'm going to plug that in and click save. Now I can go ahead and close this task. Now what we're going to do is we're going to reload this form to see if there are any other additional tasks that we need to complete. And looks like there is. Looks like we need to schedule the deployment of the new asset. So we're going to go in and click on this. And we're going to schedule that deployment day for today. And we're going to click close task. Now we're going to go back and refresh and see if there's any other more tasks. We have to now deploy the new asset to a user or to a space. I'm going to jump into this task. So there are no fields that need to be updated here. All we're going to need to do is close this task. Now what we need to do is go ahead and collect the aged asset. So I'm going to jump into this line. And what we're going to do is change this to yes, this has been reclaimed, and we're going to hit close task. We're going to go ahead and reload the form. Doesn't look like there's any more action items that we need to take. So we can go back into here. So now what we can do is we can go back into that requested item record, open up the record, scroll down here, and we can see that this has been completed. All of the stages are all set, and there is nothing else for us to do. So now we can verify that all stages of the hardware asset refresh have been completed for this first asset. We could jump into this old asset record, and we can see that the state is changed to in stock pending disposal. And when we look at this replacement asset, we can see that its state is in use. All right, so asset lifecycle automation includes workflows such as new hardware requests, stock order, and asset disposal. It automates the updates to assets and CIs on existing ITSM tickets to remove that operational burden and risk from manual errors. So all your asset data is correlated to your environment in one place, and automatic and synchronized CI asset record updates embed that service context to connect the enterprise. So we're eliminating that manual process that never gets completed and asset data that never gets updated. So in this next lab, we're going to go into that incident table and swap out an old asset with a new asset. And from there, we're going to be able to see that automatic updates that have been made on the platform. All right, so again, for this lab, we're going to be able to see how we can leverage the asset actions to automate and update the CI asset records when we go through an incident. So at the end of this lab, we're going to be able to see how much easier it could be to maintain accurate information in the CMDB when it comes to managing the day-to-day changes that happen in your environment. So right now, I'm in our incident table. I'm going to go over to the specific incident that Beth is having. It looks like her memory is running out. looks like it may be time for us to swap out her asset. I'm going to jump into here, and first thing what we're going to do is we're going to look at this configuration item record and open up that asset just so we can see that general information. We can see that state it's currently in use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that incident. We're going to scroll down here to the affected CI. Here's that configuration item. All we're going to do is come here and we're going to swap out Beth's old asset with a new one. We're going to come in here, we're going to search. So what we're going to do is we're going to search for a laptop that is empty and not assigned to a user that we can swap out and give to Beth. Looks like right here, we might upgrade Beth to an Apple MacBook Pro for herself. So I'm going to click right here. We're going to click this check mark. I'm going to save this. And down here in the resolution information, we're going to write old laptop was swapped for a new one. And we are going to say solution provided. And we are going to click resolve. Now I'm going to go back into that incident. We can see that the state has been changed to resolved. If we come down here and we open up this configuration item and the specific asset, we're going to be able to see that the state has now changed to in stock, but the substate has changed to pending disposal. We're going to add what stockroom it's in, Southern California warehouse, and we're going to save this record. And if we scroll back down, we're going to be able to see that swap CI. I'm going to open this asset up, open up that record, and we're going to be able to see that this new asset is going to be in use and assigned to Beth. So 50 million tons of e-waste is produced globally each year, in what the United Nations is really calling a tsunami of e-waste. So the technology and devices that we use are now really piling up in our landfills and are hazardous to the people and the environment. So with proper asset disposal processes in place, your business can make a positive impact on our environment by really helping reduce that e-waste and its harmful effects. So ServiceNow's hardware asset management can simplify and automate that asset disposal process so that you can really ensure assets are being disposed of properly. So the hardware asset disposal workflow is important because of the regulations and the environmental concerns, as well as the risks related to ensuring your organization's data is being wiped and doesn't pose that future threat. So your ability to integrate a certified disposal vendor into your workflow and to verify that devices have been cleaned throughout that IT operations process is really going to be key to this lifecycle stage. So the disposal workflow is going to follow these steps. We're first going to need to verify the assets for disposal. Then we're going to have to schedule that pickup, confirm that the assets that are ready for departure, and then we need to wait until that vendor confirms that's received the assets, and then they're going to send us over that disposal documentation that we then are going to attach into that asset record on the platform. So in this next lab, we're going to go over that disposal workflow. We'll identify those assets to be disposed and walk through all of those disposal steps. So like I said, in this lab, we're going to take a look at this out-of-the-box disposal flow works, and we're going to be able to go through the steps necessary to properly track and dispose the asset. So disposal flow is going to be created using our ServiceNow's flow designer, and we can make a copy of the flow and add any additional steps if needed. So what I'm going to do, I'm in that hardware disposal order table. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click New. For stockroom, we're going to do Southern California warehouse, and it automatically populates that location for you. We're going to assign this to Casey Kuhn, and we're going to hit submit. So right here, here is that disposal order. We're going to click into that, and we're going to come here to our hardware disposal tasks, and we're going to open up this first task. Like I said, the first task is we need to verify those planned assets. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click edit.
And we can see the different filters that are being run. So right here, we can see the status in stock, the sub-status pending disposal, and the stockroom is going to be that Southern California warehouse. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take this Lenovo, we're going to move it over here to that planned asset list, and we're going to hit save. And we are going to click here, and we are going to click verify. And now we can close this task. Now we need to come down here, refresh these hardware disposal order lines, and see if there's any more tasks. We're going to click into this next task, and that's to schedule the pickup. So we're going to include this vendor information. Scheduled pickup date will be today. Pickup details, Hannah will pick up. We could add the vendor order ID and that pickup contact name as well. And we can also add any additional information that we need. So I'm just going to click close task. And we are going to refresh our hardware disposal task. Next thing we need to do is we need to select the assets that we're departing for disposal. I'm going to come into here, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to select depart. And we are going to go ahead and close this task. So now we can see that this asset is in transit. We're going to go ahead and refresh our list. Now we need that confirmation that the vendor did receive this. So once we get that, we can come back into here and click close task. Refresh this one more time. Now that the vendor has this, now all we're waiting for is that disposal documentation. So what we're going to say is we have that certificate of disposal, and then I'm going to go ahead and attach that documentation. And now that I have the certification in there, I mark this as yes. We're going to go in here and we are going to click dispose. I'm going to go ahead and close this task. So now we can see that the stage has been set to complete. We can open up this asset and we can see the state has been moved to retired and disposed. So on the platform, we're going to be able to conduct the scheduled or ad hoc asset inventory audits of stockrooms or office locations just by scanning the barcode with our mobile agent app to enforce that compliance of your current asset tracking process. So in this lab, we're going to go over how to create a stockroom audit and using our mobile phone to scan the asset barcodes. So we're in the mobile agent app. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click this stockroom audit button. We're going to click new stockroom audit. We're going to do it of the Southern California warehouse. And we're going to click submit. We're going to refresh this page. We're going to open up this audit and we're going to start scanning. So it looks like we are all set. I'm going to click submit. Now what we can do is we're going to hit complete. And now that audit has been completed successfully, we can do this on or off the network. And again, multiple people can come in, use this mobile agent app, and scan the devices in the stockroom for these audits. So now I'm back into that instance environment on the platform. I'm in that asset audit table. I am going to refresh this. And here we can see all the different asset audits. We can see the one that we completed right here. We can open this up, and here we're able to see our audit results. And we have this great pie chart, and we can come down here, see those expected assets, what assets we scanned, and we can come back up here, and here are all of your different results. So how do we go about returning a leased asset? Well, we first need to identify those lease contracts that are expiring and view the assets that are covered under the lease contract. So ServiceNow will send notifications 30, 60, 90 days before a contract expires. And once we have that proper contract and assets covered, we can then begin that lease termination process and that lease return flow. So this feature is going to allow you to manage your lease asset returns efficiently and accurately, and this will help you avoid any financial penalties or settlements. And one thing to note is that tasks update related asset records automatically as the tasks are completed in the workflow. So for this next lab, we're going to be going through the return leased asset workflow from the identification stage to the process stage. So as I mentioned in this section, we're going to find a lease contract that's set to expire and initiate that lease asset return process. And we're going to perform the workflow to process a lease asset return. So right here, we're in our contracts table. We can see all of our different leases. Right here, we see our Apple lease that's currently active and it's expiring within 30 days. So we're going to go ahead and click into this specific contract. Here's all that information about this contract, from financial to renewal to terms and conditions. And if we come down here, we're able to see what assets are covered under this specific contract. We're going to scroll back up here to our related links, and we're going to begin this lease expiration process. So we're going to scroll back down here. Here are our leased assets. Here are the different lease actions that we can take. We can either return, extend, or buy out. So what we're going to do for this first asset is we're going to click return. And we're going to go ahead and save it. We're going to scroll down here. And we can see that that stage process has started. We can see all the different steps that we need to take in order for this workflow to be completed. So what we're going to do is we're going to click return. And this is going to generate those contract asset tasks for us to complete. So it looks like we completed this first task. Now we need to go ahead and collect the asset. We're going to say yes, asset has been collected, and it's going to be in that Southern California warehouse. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and close this task. We're going to come back here. We're going to refresh these tasks and see what else we need to do. We need to go ahead now and prepare this asset. So assuming you prepare this asset for shipment back to the vendor, all we need to do is go ahead and close this task. Come back down here. And now we need to go ahead and ship this asset. We can include any shipment information. We're going to put FedEx. We're going to put the ship date as today. And we're going to add that tracking number as well. And now we can go ahead and close this task. We can come back here, refresh this. Looks like now we need that return confirmation of that lease asset return. So we're going to select yes for that return confirmation. We're going to leave the settlement as no. In a real world scenario, you may need to enter an amount for a settlement fee if there is one. But now we can go ahead and close this task. You can hit refresh just to make sure, but we can see that there's no new contract asset tasks that are being displayed, and all the existing tasks are listed in the state of closed or complete. So at this point, we've completed all the steps in the process to return this leased asset. We're going to go back into that contract record. We can scroll down here and we can see that that return lease action, all the stages have been completed, and the state has been set to retired, and substate has been set to lease return. So the next workflow that we're going to go over is when an end user requests a loaner asset. So we first need to set the asset function on the asset record to loaner, and then the user can go ahead, select the loaner asset, and submit their request. From there, we can begin that loaner asset order task, and then we're able to monitor any overdue orders that you may need to take action on. So the loaner asset request workflow really allows you to manage those loaner asset pools within a stockroom location and gives you that ability to maintain that asset accuracy with those automated asset record updates. So in this next lab, we're going to go over the steps of the loaner request. We're going to create a loaner asset, request that loaner asset, process that request, and then identify any overdue loaner assets. So like I mentioned, in this lab, we're going to create and request a loaner asset for temporary use by an employee. And then we can identify any overdue loaner assets that need to be returned. So right here, I'm in our loaner asset orders table. I'm just going to click into one of these just so we can see how we can create a loaner asset. I'm going to click into this asset. And right here, we can see under asset function that this is a loaner asset. So next thing I'm going to do is to go over to that service catalog. I'm going to go to asset lifecycle. I'm going to click loaner asset request. All right, so I'm going to say that this is requested for me. For location, we're going to do this location. For model, we're going to put Apple. For start date, just going to do today. And we're going to return it tomorrow. And our justification is left laptop at home. And then just one thing to note, if there isn't enough available loaner assets at that location, the user can add themselves to a wait list. And if new loaner assets are added to a stockroom or confirmed loaner orders are canceled, the waitlisted loaner orders are confirmed in a sequence of when they were submitted. So now we're going to go back over to our loaner asset table. And right here, this is where we can see our loaner asset request. I'm going to jump into that. We're going to scroll down here to our loaner asset tasks. And we're going to assign an asset from the available loaner asset pools to prepare for deployment. So right here, I'm going to click this one. And we're going to close this task. We're going to refresh this. So next, we're going to need to deploy this loaner asset to a user. Nothing needs to be updated here. We can just go ahead and close this task. And we'll come down here. So the next task we have is to reclaim this asset. I'm going to come into this task. We're going to include that it's from the Southern California warehouse. We're going to say it was returned today. And we're going to say, yes, the asset was returned, and yes, the asset is functional. And we're going to click Close Task. So now the reclaim task of the loaner order is completed successfully, and the asset assigned to was cleared due to the asset state changing. Now, in order to monitor a loaner asset order status, what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to that hardware asset workspace, go over to that inventory view, and we can see those active loaner asset orders by status. And this is a useful view for identifying any overdue assets or if there are any requests that are waitlisted due to the lack of inventory. So lastly, we're going to jump into a contract renewal workflow, and we're going to be able to get that new view with the HAM workspace dedicated to contract management. So we're going to be able to provide that workflow to either single or multiple contracts and the renewals across multiple stages of the purchasing process. And we're also going to be able to automate hardware warranty and maintenance contract renewals. It's really going to help your organization remain compliant and avoid any penalties. So in this lab, we're going to walk through the contract management workspace, and we're going to go ahead and renew a hardware maintenance contract. So as I mentioned, in this lab, we're going to renew a hardware maintenance contract. So right now I'm in that contract management view in the hardware asset workspace. Right here, we're able to see our important action cards and all of our contract overview information, as well as seeing all those expiring contracts. We can also come up here and see all of our different contracts, either by lease, insurance, maintenance, or warranties, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into our contracts table, go to maintenance contracts. So I'm in the contracts table specifically for maintenance model contracts, I'm going to go over to this Cisco Maintenance 1 contract. It's currently in a process of renewal and it expires within 30 days. I'm going to click into this. We're going to go scroll down here. We can see that there are child contracts that are attached to this parent contract. We're going to come down here, see what assets are covered as well. If there's any users covered, we can also come down here and see if there's any approval history, contract history, any contract rate cards. And then down here, we have our contract renewal request. And we can again see what stage this is in that renewal process. So I'm going to jump into this first task. And right here, we can see our open tasks. And right now we have to select our contracts. So we're going to come down here, we're going to go to these contracts, and we're going to say, no, we're not going to renew the child contracts. And we're going to click close task. Now we're going to go ahead, generate these new tasks. What we're going to do is we're going to build the renewal. So I'm going to jump into this task. And in that renewal contract details, we're going to put in the new contract number. We're going to put a start date of today, and we're going to have this go 1 year out. We're going to have the contract administrator be Casey. We're going to have the contract approver be Casey as well. We're going to go ahead and save this and close this task. So the next task that we need to do is we need to update those hardware assets. So we can see what assets are covered, and ServiceNow automatically includes the covered assets in the renewal. So we can remove any devices that should not be included in the renewal by checking the box next to it and clicking that remove button. We can also specify renewal cost by clicking the asset display name and updating that renewal cost on the asset covered record. So we're going to come down here, we're going to open up one of these. We're going to have that renewal cost be $100. We're going to click save. We're going to go back. And we're going to select close task. Then we're going to come back here. And we also need to select any software entitlements. So we're going to go ahead, come here and close the task since there are no software entitlements under this contract. The next is we're going to have to update our terms and conditions. So ServiceNow includes the terms and conditions from the previous contract. So we're all set to go. They're right here. And all we need to do is close this task. Now we need to go ahead and update any rate cards if there are any. So we could come in here, enter any rate card details for this renewal contract. I'm going to go ahead and close this task. Now we're going to open up this last task, and that's that renewal confirmation. We're going to open this task. Renewal confirmation is yes. And we have confirmed the contract details before approval, and we're going to close this task. So now what we can see, the stage has been set to awaiting renewal approval, and we have completed all of our contract renewal tasks. So now we're back in that contract renewal request. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back into that hardware asset workspace. We're going to go over to our contracts management view. I'm going to go to my approvals, and right here, here is that request that we created. We're going to jump into this. And we are going to change this to approved, and we're going to hit save. And we're going to go back to that contract renewal request. We can see that the stage has changed and it has been approved. And now what we need to do is we need to renew that purchase order. We're going to come down here, open up this PO. And the total cost of the PO is calculated from the renewal cost of each asset that we specified earlier. So it's going to have that $100 total cost. And what we're going to do is we're going to click order. And now once we clicked order, then we can go ahead and click receive. And now I can go back into that contract renewal task. And we can see that all the stages have been completed and there are no more tasks to be generated. If we come here, we can see that the state of the contract has been set to expired and the substate has been set to renewed. If we open up this, we can see that renewal contract is now set to active. So before we close out and wrap up, I did want to discuss some next steps. So this is that hardware asset management success map that we also regularly update. So we start at that success foundations, and then this gives you our take on the critical inputs for successful implementation and maintenance, from vision and value to governance and project planning. From there, we move into that implementation stage, and as you can see kind of in this upper middle section, there's Now Create, which is an available resource for you to use as well. So Now Create is that ServiceNow provided option for assisting you with planning and implementing any ServiceNow project. It provides that step-by-step guidance on how to deliver successful projects on the platform and is really a great resource. Lastly, there is running and optimizing and expanding. Here we have some roles, demand management, upgrades, assessing value. It always is important to review what we have done and unlock the value, and then also see anything else that can be improved upon. And then optimizing and spending, right? Making sure you're maximizing the value of the platform and then expanding on those functionalities and taking those next steps in implementation, including considering which ServiceNow product suites you may want to implement next in the future. Lastly, here are all the resources and documentation that you can view to gain more insight. We have our YouTube channel where you can watch different videos of our products. We have our on-demand and live classes for hardware asset management fundamentals, where you then can take that HAM CIS exam. And we also have that link to our docs.servicenow.com for HAM Pro, where you can get any other additional questions answered. And we also have our partner finder link for anyone who is currently looking for a partner or thinking about a different partner in the future. Thank you again for your time, and please use the above link as another great resource for information on HAM Pro on the Now platform.